live. Yes.
Dropping some wisdom bombs today.
All right. So, in case you don't know, we do this every single Tuesday, usually at 4 o'clock, but I have an appointment. So, we're going to go from 3:45 till 5:15. We do this every single Tuesday. It's called Let's Just Talk. Three guys. We're not journalists. We're not politicians. We're just dudes.
Dude.
As Mark Driscoll would say, we're just dudes. And we just talk about different things. And there's a few things going on in the world. And some of it might end the world. So I think that's important enough to talk about. And then we got Jamal Bryant at it again.
Oh, I thought that's what you were talking about when you said some might end the world.
Yeah, that too.
I thought that's what you were talking about.
And so we're just going to talk about these things and freestyle it. And if you guys want to, if we're talking about something, if we're not talking about something you want us to talk about, maybe, just maybe, it'll pique our interest, you know. Shout out to Felipe Flores, who's on here already, Sister Lisa. Thank you so much. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So, seriously, what do we want to start with?
Well, I thought of the church shooting that happened in Michigan.
Yes, let's start there.
And I know the video went viral. The initial reaction to everything that happened when it was live in the moment.
Is that camera not on?
Which one?
That one's on. That one's not.
Which one is that?
That's this one.
Oh, is it this one? Is this one on? Oh, no, that one's on because it shows him.
Oh, okay. So then,
Yeah, but that's that camera.
no.
Yeah, so this one's not on.
This one's not on.
Yeah.
Is there a button or anything I do back there?
It's that little button on top. You just barely tap it. On the very top, it's a circle.
A red one?
No, right. Well, tap it harder than that. Is it the on and off?
Yeah, there you go. Now it's green.
Screen turned on?
Yep.
All right.
Right.
There it is. All right. Now we're going to be boom.
Bomb there. Boom.
All right. Bongs over bad dad. All right. So,
Bomb, 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 bomb.
okay. Who else we got on here? Oh, you were talking about the church.
Yeah. The church shooting that took place in Michigan.
Yeah.
And what was the name of the city?
I don't know.
I thought it was Wayne.
I think it was. I think the city was Wayne. And, just the live footage that took place and everything. And it was crazy because what took him out was a dude with an F-10 with an F-150. And so the vehicle took shots. He went and rammed the shooter. And then the security, the armed security staff of the church took him out.
Yeah.
And I know that we'll talk more about it recently. I know our I don't know if it was the FBI or department, I don't know what, released today or yesterday as far as a heightened awareness of security across the nation.
Oh, really? But it wasn't.
No, it had nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. But just the fact that what would have happened to that church with all those people had there not been somebody there that was armed, that was on behalf of the church to take this person out.
So basically, they had security at the church. Were they security like ushers, or were they security? Like security uniforms?
I don't know, but they were members of the church.
Okay, because like you walk in a Walgreens.
From my understanding, yeah.
Like you walk in a Walgreens in Stockton.
Yeah.
I don't know about Modesto, but in Stockton, there's a security guard outside or right inside the doors, or it was church security.
I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyone online or Tina with the online
I'm
there?
look right now.
From my understanding, it was security of the church.
Yeah.
I heard one of the news said paid security or paid employees of the church.
I mean, if the church is big enough, they have staff.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're still members of the church.
But even with that, as they were interacting, as the shooters were interacting, or the security team was interacting with the shooter, a member took his truck upon himself to ram the shooter at the door because he was about to come in.
Volunteer security team.
Volunteer.
So what killed them? The ramming?
I think both.
or the?
I think the beginning of him being dead is the ram.
Yeah.
He got rammed by the car.
I think he got hit.
And it's security shot him.
And
yeah,
then they shot him dead.
Then he
Yeah.
put him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they shot him dead, and I mean, you could see in the video it was their Sunday culmination of their vacation Bible school.
The security
That's
team
right.
at Cross Point Community Church was made up of church members who had volunteered for the role.
A shout out to Disco and Empty Tomb. Now, obviously, this caught attention because this was right after the United States B-2 bombers dropped. What are they called again? What's the nickname for them?
Bunker busters.
Yeah, the bunker busters. And, Iran said that they were going to retaliate. So that's kind of why it probably would have made the news anyways, but even more so because, is this what's going to happen? Because obviously we know that it's a terrorist state. It's a terrorist nation. They're not going to fight heads up because they can't.
No.
So they hit soft targets. Whether it's churches or sports or whatever, wherever there's people, regular civilians, So, but you're saying it had nothing to do with it. Was it a disgruntled person from that church? Or?
From the videos, he was friends with someone that at least as far as that I read. I don't think he attended the church or had any direct connection. I don't know. Maybe more information has come out since I last read.
Yeah.
But from my understanding, he knew someone that had attended the church because everyone posted initially a photo and said, "This is the guy."
I haven't even seen who it is.
Yeah, everyone posted, "This is the guy," and then the family members of the guy said, "My son overdosed a year and a half ago. That's not the shooter."
Oh, wow.
And so the original photo that was released was not the person. It was another young man that I guess was associated with him.
But have they released? They released it.
The name, yes, from my understanding.
Yeah, they released the name.
Hey, Justin, can you? Oh, wait, Justin's not there. We don't have anybody. And I say that to say this: is local, and it's your passion to learn how to run podcasts and run all these things and media. We could always use somebody to come and help us. And even when Justin is able to, nevertheless, we want to have a team,
absolutely,
of people to do that. So that way they can show clips or show pictures. But we have nobody. Justin's chair is empty right now.
I wish we could turn the camera over and just show an empty chair.
Yeah. Cholo Trucker, how you doing, brother? God bless you. Still waiting for you to let me know when you can come and join us on one of these episodes on Tuesday. Empty Tomb, also, thank you for the $5, man. That does go to the Wi-Fi.
Thank you.
I'll be honest with you, man. Last month's posted yesterday, and it was sad. Once a month, we get all the super chats or whatever added up, and so yeah, we thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Man, so this church shooting, what do you think all churches should do across the country? Places of worship.
Load up. Always, man. Even before all of what's going on in this life, man. Places like that should be loaded up. I've been in enough big mega churches where, every single corner, every 15, 20 feet, somebody's strapped. They're loaded. You can't tell. They're just regular. Mm-hmm. They're there in a salmon shirt with some khakis and some boat shoes.
White salmon.
And so
I know, white salmon. Why'd you make me hungry right now?
But no, all jokes aside, that's how they move. You know what I mean? And so, and this is before any of this kind of stuff. I'm saying because there's morons in America that will go in I'm going to show out for my religion and then walk into a quote unquote Christian church. So I think they should load up.
Do you think churches should have security looking people or just ushers looking people, or each his own? I
think me personally, I think that it should be more of just I think there should be one or two, maybe three walking around depending on how big the church is, right? Walking around, so that way it shows that there is some type of security. But I think the big number of security should be just average congregation member.
Remember at Grace in
I don't have my bottle today.
Remember at headquarters? Your bottle was over there. Is that yours?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like king above kings and all that.
Yeah.
Like stickers. Yeah, that's
So when you go into
door.
Grace International and the headquarters, you walk in, there's literally a sheriff in the lobby with his patrol car right up front. Remember every time we went over there, that sheriff was there, that officer.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the
He was
sheriff.
the sheriff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got straight up. And he has his own little, they has his own little,
Cubicle?
Yeah,
well,
his
like a-
job is to be there.
yeah.
Yeah.
They had like 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, but he has stated before, this is Texas we're talking about. He says, yeah, they ain't the only ones. He goes, it'd be the worst thing somebody could do is come into here shooting.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, man. I've been into a few churches that are like that.
But I think both. I don't think it. Put it this way: I don't think you have to. I don't think it's because I don't have a problem with.
Felipe says both.
Yeah. I think
Big
both.
bad boy right there.
Man, you can hurt someone with that.
That's the whole point.
I don't know why Empty Tomb's talking about fish shirts. He'd be walking around with his belly showing. Brother, what kind of weekend did you have?
Don't tell me you've been talking. You've been listening to Pastor Jamal.
Man, please explain yourself, brother.
Explain. No, but no, I think both. Just because one, it's kind of like peace through force.
Yeah.
Being open about it, and in that
It's
way,
a deterrent.
Exactly.
When you go to Walgreens,
Exactly.
and you see that guy there,
Yeah.
like for instance, today I was driving and I was coming.
Oh, salmon shirt. Okay, I get it. Fish shirt, salmon shirt.
But I don't understand the belly showing. That's the part. That's the part that I'm confused.
That's the
brother.
part that scares me. All right. So,
But no, today I was on the phone and I made a couple calls. Called the Modesto Police Department.
yeah.
And just had a quick conversation with them, and he just said, I've had the conversation before, and he said, no, I would right now, because of the alert that just went out nationally.
Yeah.
I would definitely make sure that you do have men that are ready and willing and able,
Yeah.
to do that. And one of the things that I did notice on it, and even just bringing it up here, one, I wanted to talk to you, off camera, but I think it's okay here too, is one of the things that they said about the church of why nobody was hurt is they had worked with the police department to set up a plan of exit.
Yeah.
That way they moved the way they moved?
Yes. So everybody, as far as those that were in charge, knew, and from the pastor down,
Yeah.
who everybody understood which direction and where to go. And every police officer video, everything like that, all addressed, and even every news article that I read at some point said that nobody was hurt because there was a plan of action
Yeah.
of what to do. And so the leadership and the ushers, everybody was made aware of what to do. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's for any church. That's why I'm saying, even just bringing it up, now for any situation, any church, any exit, what doors, instead of one person hoping they have their brain intact in the moment.
Yeah. I mean, same
to
thing with
react.
our teachers. We've talked to our teachers. This is why after 15 minutes of service, these doors get locked because, just you eliminate one entrance and leave one entrance only. There's different things that I'm not going to share here.
No.
But yeah, there's things
But that idea.
Yeah. Of having protocol. It's important.
And going over that consistently for new staff to make sure everybody is in the
On the
loop,
same page,
on
yeah.
the same page.
Yeah. Remember that shooting? I forgot where somebody pulled a shotgun out. Remember? And he ended up killing somebody, one of the ushers, because all the ushers were packing.
Oh, it was in Texas.
Is it Texas, right? And then they shot him down right there.
Wasn't that Joel Osteen's?
No, that's something else.
I thought, okay.
This is a whole different thing. Joel Osteen, that happened too, but this happened it was a full sanctuary.
Yeah.
Somebody walked in with the 12 gauge.
A woman, wasn't it?
I don't think so.
No? Maybe I'm thinking of a
You're
different
talking about
sanctuary.
Joel Osteen.
Okay.
I'm talking about some other little church. I don't remember where it's at, but there's video because there was a camera running in the service, and that person pulls out a gauge, like a trench coat or something, shot the first usher. The usher went to pull.
Yeah.
but they got shot first. But then there was 3 other ushers that pulled and shot them dead. Everybody else knew to lay their head down. Everybody. So nobody was running. Everybody went down to make a clear visual to the perpetrator.
How long ago was it?
Man, maybe
like 5 years.
Yeah.
No, the one that comes up, bro, is
Let me
Texas.
see.
Whoopsie.
Did you have?
Security guard who killed a gunman Sunday inside a church.
It was the ushers that did it. Thinks it was in North Carolina. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, I will tell you what happened. I was talking to someone on the phone today. They went to buy ammo on Saturday here in California.
Who?
A friend of mine.
Oh.
Went to Bass Pro Shop.
Oh wait, let me see.
Is that the one?
Yep, that's the one.
Was in Texas?
Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, man who killed Texas. Yeah, he was an usher.
Felipe says, I think it was a black church and the shooter was a racist white young man. Shout out to Smallholder Homestead. God bless you.
Well, so he went to Bass Pro Shop to get ammo, and all of a sudden, their system was down because you have to get checked in as far as in the system check to get bullets in California. They do a bullet count.
No.
So, which is a whole different conversation in and of itself as well. But so he couldn't get bullets there. So then he went to another gun store. Their system was down. And then he went to another gun store, and he was like, hey, I went to this store and this store. Dude, they, within the last hour, and I can't get ammo. Their systems are down. He said, well, let me check. Their system was down. And then he was like, the guy goes, hold on. Oh, yeah, they bombed Iran, dude. Everyone's overloaded. Everyone's buying bullets. And so the system in California went down. And so, just to add, like today I was on the phone with the gun store in Tracy. And he goes, bro, this year, he said, different counties, Stanislaus County, San Joaquin County. He said they have been issuing concealed carry license. He said left and right. He said, and they've been actually passing them quite a bit.
Yeah.
In both counties.
Wow.
And he goes, there's a lot that have come through here in the last, he said, probably this year alone. And he was a church member, and he said, yeah, he goes, our church has a protocol. He says they do. He says they have some that are open. Some guys, he said, because if you're going to come in and that's your thought,
Yeah.
think
It's a
twice.
deterrent. I remember going to church in Kansas, not this time, but when I went with Pete back then. And that was my first time seeing people worship. They raise their hands, and you see them holstered because their shirt lifts a little bit. And they're just worshiping God, and it was just a normal thing. Like, they're just holstered up.
Yeah.
Arizona. If you ever go to a cowboy church in Arizona, that's literally like it's all cowboys, right? Same thing. They lift up you see all the holsters and everything.
Felipe says California's trying to ban all striker-fired pistols. What does that mean, brother? Definition, I don't know. Namely, Glocks, better get them now just in case. Smallholder says, I'm not a Quaker, but I don't own guns anymore. Yeah, I don't own guns anymore either. I'm a 3-time felon, so that kind of prevents that. Yeah, man, I used to like guns, and not for bad. I just grew up in a ranch. I grew up around guns my whole life.
Yeah, how many muskrats did we shoot? And how many, rats out there? No, but no, I because here's, and that's, going back to just that moral question. Should Christians, should the church, and how should they, how should they defend themselves in that way?
Yeah, I don't think it's a fine line. I think it's a well-defined line that as men of God, the Lord He wants us to be men of peace. At the same time, we are given families to protect no matter what, and I think that in a place of a church, there's families, there's children, there's wives, there's grandmothers, you know what I mean? So I don't see anything wrong with protecting the families inside of the building.
Protecting the innocent.
They're coming because they trust. They trust their leaders. They trust their pastors. They trust their church. And what a horrible thing that Satan can come and do and take advantage of the fact that we're peaceful people and cause havoc. So.
Yeah.
But that's who the cowards attack.
Yeah.
That's who the cowards go and attack. They're not going to go and attack somebody they know is going to fight back.
Yeah.
Again, there's that. I've said this on here. I know I've said it off air to you guys, but that's why people look at Christianity like we're punks because of that turn the other cheek stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, walk up to somebody, dude, and see what happens, especially here. Oh, man, good luck, bro. You know what I'm saying? Let Christianity leave immediately. What's the saying? It's easier to ask forgiveness than permission. You know what I'm saying? Let me give you a little quick two-piece real quick, bro. And then, hey, man, I'm sorry for putting these hands on you, bro. You got too close.
But is it?
So, no, I absolutely, no way,
Is
man.
it leaving Christianity?
That's what I'm
No.
saying.
Absolutely
Is
not.
it even leaving
No.
Christianity?
No way. Especially with the guns and everything. No way, man.
But even just defending, I can be a Christian. I'm not backslidden if I'm protecting my family.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, the thoughts, if you, because, like, you immediately think.
Look at Cholo Trucker. He says, it goes back to a question that I asked you a few years back, Pastor. Is there a righteous time to kill? Yeah, I believe there is. Even Scripture says it. Murder? No. Murder's wrong.
Right.
But to kill, because a soldier kills, an officer kills, somebody that breaks into your house and they're threatening your family. That's
because there was in Sacramento years ago, there was a man that shot someone leaving his house because he stole his TV.
yeah.
Or maybe it was Texas. It might have been Texas.
I don't remember.
And he shot and killed a young man. And do I think it's right to kill someone because they stole your TV? No.
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 But if you're coming in to hurt my family,
Yeah.
how do you know
Yeah,
that?
but if
I
you
don't
come
know.
to steal the TV, you're going to leave limping at least.
Yeah, but here's and this is the argument. Like, people are like, well, they'll make this, but here's the deal: how do I know what your intent is when you're coming into my home?
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
I don't know that.
Yeah. Hey, excuse me, sir. Even though you broke in here,
Yeah.
before I do any damage to your face, are you here for the coffee pot, my Keurig, and my TV? Okay, sir. Let me unlock the front door for you. I'm going back to bed. Like, what, dude? You're not gonna do any of that, man. You remember Boys in the Hood when Styles came out, man, and he put that 44 mag, dude, and he shot a
That's
big
a
old
little hand cannon.
I mean, that's what we're all thinking, dude. Let's just be real about it. You know what I mean? It's just like, and the cop asked him, he's all, did you get him? He's all, if I did, he'd be laying dead here right in front of you. But I mean, that's what it is. So I don't know, man. I think protection is needed, especially in just America. I was going to say in California, but you know what, in America. So.
Yeah. All right.
I think guns, you say that little scare tactic, like when you walk into CVS or somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? And you see that piece right there. It makes you think a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, dang, do I really want to go through this?
But I think the distinction too has to be made is when Jesus does talk about, like, turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
What is the statement he's always making
Well, that's
in
what
that
Brother
conversation?
8509 just said.
What? Oh, what'd he say?
He says, haha, amen, by the laying of hands. Well, the Bible says turn the other cheek, but it does not continue to say turn more of them, amen, because we only got so many free ones to give.
See?
Smallholder says, all my kids carry knives. We were just having this conversation today. Empty Tomb says, before I rearrange your face, let's talk. I don't know why. I wanted to say like an Italian word, but I didn't come out right. I need to eat some raviolis first.
But if you read that, what does he say? For my name's sake. See, there is a difference between
Absolutely.
me defending the helpless and me taking you out because of my Christianity or because of my faith and not wanting to be a martyr. There is a distinct line, and that was Dietrich Bonhoeffer's. If the whole movie, that was his point of conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Do I go and take out Hitler, who's killing millions, or do I passively allow this to happen because I believe that the principles of my moral fiber can't be compromised? And ultimately, his position was, I trust the God in which I will lay my life in.
Yeah.
And I will let him judge me accordingly at the end. But I will do what I think is right. And that's what he lived. That was his ethical principle that he ended with. And that's the whole story of it. And it is a question.
Absolutely.
I think that our society lives in a bubble. We are thousands and thousands of years old, and we've only had 911. How many of those years?
Yeah. 50 years.
Mankind, men around the world have had to hunt and fight and kill for their very survival. Mm-hmm. This 911 thing is fairly new. So I think when we read the Bible, it's not written to 2025. It's written to the world in the span of time.
In every phase, yeah.
So I think that it's only us that live in this bubble or could get confused about murder and killing. Because I don't think in the Wild West or in the even 1,000 years ago or whatever, this was an easy one. They're like, man, I'm a decent man. Oh, yeah, I killed 3 men yesterday. What? You know what I mean? Because, they're trying to steal the crops, and stealing those crops is what's going to make my family starve over the winter.
I've got employees.
So I'm going to stop them. I'm going to pacify them. And now they're fertilizer for my corn. Just...
Best case scenario, I'm going to shoot. They're going to run. Worst case scenario, you're going to stay, which means your intent is a little bit different than that, and you're going to find out.
So would you agree that bubble of 911 is a new thing?
Yeah.
So
I can understand that.
Yeah. Dude, back in the day, man, imagine having some cabin with your family and there's nobody 100 miles away and somebody comes and tries to take what's yours.
Absolutely. That goes to my theory. It's like, look at the way America is with the police officers. Imagine without them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. But they call it a warning shot for a reason. Let me give you this, boom, let me shoot up. You know what I mean? Maybe one pellet will hit one of you. You know what I mean? But you're a fool. We always say, dude, one of the things is with me and my friends is, buy a 12 gauge, even if you don't ever want to shoot it at somebody, but just for that.
Bird shot, then buckshot, right?
Yeah, dude. I mean, dude, you hear that, man, I'm telling you, dude, put some thoughts in your head, man.
Make you think twice about that. Bro. What'd you say about your toaster?
I've had pellets rain on me once.
Oh, really?
I hear boom, and I hear a bunch of pellets. It was in my car.
Oh.
So they must have shot up.
Yeah.
But I got rained on with pellets.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I never had a 12 gauge shot at me.
No, it wasn't at me. Or I wouldn't be here.
I'm just saying, like anywhere in my vicinity, I can say that's never happened.
But
praise God for that one, man.
I think just going back to the scriptures, even if you take the Old Testament and you take the law of Moses and you compare it at the time of other laws.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where if you stole, you had a hand cut off.
Yeah.
Or you were killed.
Some countries still do that.
Yeah. And if you maimed someone, your life was taken. But look where Scripture puts the parameters in: an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. That was mercy in a system that didn't have 911, that didn't have these things.
Yeah,
there was parameters of how far you can take it. Listen, you can't go in anger and in rage to a point that is unjustifiable to the response that is needed. Mm-hmm. And the law of Moses comes in and says this, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and it held men's back. And you compare it to the law of the times of the other nations, it was amazingly just.
Yeah.
Which just shows God's mind, God's heart towards these things. It's not to, like you were saying, it's not to just go out and rage, but it is to be able to defend and protect.
It says, try to be peaceable with all men.
Yeah.
Paul says that.
It says try to find it.
I remember having this debate in prison. There was this brother that disagreed with me because I said that I would protect my family no matter what. And he says, brother, Jesus is there and he'll get you out of it. And I'm like, what world do you live in? Do you not know that there's Christians right now around the world where they go, they persecute them, they sexually assault the pastor's wife in front of him before they murder her and then murder him? I said, what, are you saying Jesus wasn't with that pastor? How many martyrs, how many people are killed in certain Muslim cities or other nations? You think that Jesus is going to stop it? Mm-hmm. If that was true, then why did Stephen get killed in the book of Acts? Why did Paul get beheaded? Why did Peter get crucified upside down? I said, dude, I don't know what life I said, if you're asking me, you're telling me that if somebody comes to assault my family, that the Christian thing to do is to watch and let them? Or to die fighting regardless of what I got to do? I said, I'm not going to die a coward. and use Christianity as a reason to be a coward.
I know real missionaries. I know real people that went, and if they went out to other countries, and let's say somebody said, "I want to take my wife on this trip,"
Yeah.
no, you're not going, because the moment that if she gets captured, you're going to compromise us,
Yeah.
and we can't afford that risk, and even when we were in El Salvador and we went, multiple times, there was areas where they would tell us, it's only going to be men. If we're going to go up in the mountains, it's just going to be just the men. Because there was still militias and guerrillas that were still fighting out there.
Yeah.
And there was still a lot of stuff that was happening in the early 2000s after the Civil War that was still taking place. And it was like, dude, if we're going to go up that way, it's just men. We're not going to risk that. There's too much at risk here. And just having wisdom in that.
Carl! So, what's up, Carl? Yeah, man. So, let's keep it moving.
We're going pretty legs?
I don't know. Maybe we'll save it for last.
All right.
So, I'm sure you guys already know this. There's no way you're hearing it for the first time. But the U.S. bombed 3 nuclear whatever in Iran. It was a surprise attack. They took off from United States. They sent 2 decoys that were traceable going toward Europe, but then they sent other ones going the other way undetected. And they bombed 3 nuclear sites in Iran where they were supposedly having uranium. And yeah.
Yeah, because I had got the tweet that said those bombers landed in Guam for refuel. I remember getting that tweet somebody posted early Saturday.
40-hour flight, right?
Wherever they were, it just said they were in Guam.
Yeah, they were.
getting
2 of them
refuel.
were headed toward Guam.
Something like that,
But they were purposely letting them detect
exactly.
it. They couldn't take off from carriers because they have drones watching our carriers and watching our fleets.
Yep.
So they had to take off from bases in mid-America, actually. And they had to fly halfway around the world in those things. That's wild. That's probably the longest mission on one of those things. Those things aren't meant for long distance.
They never landed. They refueled in the air every time.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
And I read in an article that the target was the size of a washing machine.
The what?
The target that they had to hit.
Oh, really?
Initially, that initial spot was the size of a washing machine.
Did you see the holes it left?
Yeah.
You saw that?
Yeah.
That's crazy, yeah. They said they're 20 feet wide.
Yeah, that's wild, bro. They did some damage, man. That was wild.
So the question is, was it right for him to do that? That's what some people are saying.
Or should he have been impeached?
Yeah, because what do you do? I think I said this on Sunday, and usually I never say, I didn't consider this political. I consider it current event. That's why I mentioned it at service. But I said on one end, I would hate to be the president, because on one end, you have a nation that says they want to wipe Israel off the face of the planet and death to America. You know what I mean? So do you let them wait till they get a nuclear weapon? Or do you preemptively strike and stop it now? I'm glad I'm the pastor and not a president. You know what I mean? But because no matter what, because technically you could do that and cause World War III, or you could do it and prevent World War III.
Let me ask you guys this before we get into the current part of today. When you heard that news, because I watched that live, I was sitting outside. When you got that news, or when you first heard of it on Saturday, what was your thoughts?
I said, man, I don't know if he should have did that.
That was your first thought?
That was my first thought. I said, man, I don't know. They're all, what? So I was at a renewal, and everybody knows me and my big mouth and how I feel about all of whatever. And so they were like, Tino, man, you hear it? I mean, people were coming from like 6 tables over there coming to tell me. And I said, ooh, and my first thought was, man, I don't know if he should have did that. So then I got home later. So it became a little bit of a talk, and then I was just like, I got to find out more. I'm not going to do the research here.
Yeah.
We got home, and I was talking to my boy, and my son and myself were talking, and I said, you know what, man? No matter what I think, I don't hear what he hears.
Yeah.
I voted for him. I'm trusting in his judgment. No matter what it is, he hears things that we don't hear. We see what we think we're seeing, but we don't hear what he hears. For all we know, he could have got word back to him saying they're bombing us tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's what happened. That's not what I'm just saying that we don't hear what Trump hears, man. But my first initial thought to answer your question.
Yeah.
No, that's a long-winded answer.
I know when he gave his statement, it was for the first time I heard his voice shaky. Trump's.
Yeah. At the very end.
And I'll be honest with you. I'm glad. Because that was a heavy decision to make.
100%.
That shouldn't have been made flippant. You know how he's very flippant. He's very like, whatever. You know what I mean?
Go.
But the fact that his voice was shaky shows that he understood the weight of this and what it carried. But so ultimately, same as you voted for this. I voted for this. Is I'm going to trust that they know a lot more than David Rocha here in Modesto knows. You know, because his voice sounding shaky actually gave me reassurance that he really thought about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't something to play with. Because that could have ended disastrous. It still can, you know. Or did he end something disastrous?
And for him to be able, and for those pilots to go in, do their job, and get back, nobody hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it is what it is, man. And here we are today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, what's your thought? What was your thought?
Same thing. My thing was just, man, kind of like, man, dude, I hope this goes well.
Yeah.
You know, and that and the thing I've been saying the last few weeks. At some point in time, I hope these receipts, your receipts that you have of why you did it, were right.
Look at Felipe says, initially I thought it was a bad idea, but I see the bigger picture now. This now put equal pressure on Israel and Iran to behave and keep the peace. They already broke the ceasefire, which is the next one we're going to talk about, but we wanted to talk about the bombing first. And Empty Tomb said he thought it was a bad idea at first also. Amen. So, yeah, at first, I have always, all my life, every terrorist thing that I have seen since a child has always come back to Iran. Whether it's proxies, whether it's this group, it all comes back to Iran. And it wasn't until last week when I remember Patrick but David, he says, man, throw on Google, man. Put how many wars did Iran start before this regime took over, 38 years before? Peace. He goes, how many wars has Iran been since then? It was just nothing but violence, nothing but violence. You know, even back when, one of my earliest memories of government was the hostages that the Iranians took, American hostages for I don't know how many 100-some days they had, Americans. So I've always grew up in a generation that terrorism ultimately came down to this nation, man. Not even this nation, not even the people. That government, that regime that's in place. And so for me, when I saw it, I didn't think it was a bad idea. I think it was a hard decision, but I thought it was a right decision. And that was
your initial thought?
Yeah. But I was glad I'm not the president. And I'm glad I'm not the one that made the decision.
Well, I text you guys that tweet that Trump posted a week ago yesterday. And I said, read this now going back. Now reading this today, read it. When he posted this 10 days ago. I'll read the tweet real quick, what I said to you guys yesterday when we were on our text chat. Let me see here.
Are we still good on the Wi-Fi? Right here?
It should be.
Yeah? I'm just asking because mine turned off.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to make sure we're good on there.
Where's it at here?
This.
Okay. Here's the tweet. This is from Truth Social. He says, this was dated 6/14/25.
So last week.
12:01 noontime, our time.
Who wrote this?
Trump.
Okay.
This is on his Truth Social. President Putin called this morning to very nicely wish me a happy birthday. So this was that Saturday. But to me, more importantly, talk about Iran, a country he knows very well. We talked at length. Much less time was spent talking about Russia and Ukraine, but that we will be for next week. That will be for next week. He is doing the planned prisoner swaps. Large numbers of prisoners are being exchanged immediately from both sides. The call lasted approximately 1 hour. He feels, as do I, this war in Israel-Iran should end, to which I explained his war should also end.
Yeah.
So go back to his birthday. This was now I'm talking after the fact. After like Saturday night, Sunday morning, I'm processing, looking back at receipts and going, think about this. I'm just going to throw this out here. All of the tariffs, when all that went out, April 2nd, what began to happen? That never was happening before, because Obama wouldn't talk and Biden wouldn't talk to other leaders that were what we would consider enemies. So the tariffs go out, and what starts happening? Conversation for the first time in all these nations. And so I'm just going, so that, just thinking, okay, he's having conversations with all these guys. He's having conversations with China. He's having conversations with Putin. He's having He has those 4 days where he's in the Middle East, meeting with all these people. And he did bring it up. Wouldn't this area and region not be better if Iran didn't have a nuclear bomb? And then Israel starts bombing Iran, and what happens? Nobody does anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, this was that conversation. He preemptively, if I'm hoping this is what happened, and by the looks of it, I think it is, said, I don't want to go to war with you. But that can't be. And if that happens, I have to stop that. Or however it would be worded. But that was after the fact, Saturday night and Sunday morning, just going, dude, if you did that, and that's how this, and only history will tell its tale in time. That was amazing diplomacy to be able to hopefully keep us out of war.
Yeah. Our Poetic says, look up General Wesley talking about the Bush 5-year plan for the Middle East. That is what my mind went to. That's why I'm so hesitant of it. I know a lot of people have said that Israel is just basically a plant for America. A lot of times, when I read the Bible, when I preach sermons, I try to put myself and I try to bring the congregation into the story. Because a lot of times if we don't do that, we only see the stories of the Bible from the outside looking in. And then so I'll do things, let's say it's Jonah, and he, and Jonah hates the Ninevites. And so we talk about that. I'm like, have you ever just hated somebody? Like, honestly, in your heart, you wish that God would just curse them?
Yeah.
You bring them into the story. So why am I saying that? Because we need to do that with nations. So people say, well, Israel's just a plant for America. Well, if you were the superpower of the world, wouldn't you want an ally on the other side of the world to be your eyes and ears?
Yeah.
Can you blame America for having Israel as their ally? I think that's the smart thing to do. Matter of fact, if I was the superpower
especially
of the world,
in that area,
I would have eyes and ears around this whole globe. So do you blame them? Can you really blame America for that? Now, another thing too is I'm always, no matter what, I'm going to look at this through a biblical worldview, no matter what. And people say, well, so you're for the Israeli government. Dude, I didn't say that. I know that that's the Holy Land. That's what the Word of God says. And I'm going to hold on to what the Word says. Nothing's going to change me or budge me from that. I believe in America doesn't mean I believe in every politician. I believe in the idea of America. So I know that there's a biblical Israel. I know where it's at because Jerusalem is mentioned in the Bible. Jerusalem is there today, And so when the Word of God says that all nations are going to come against it, so my worldview is always going to be a biblical view, how I see it, So, yeah, man, that's what I think.
I sent that out to the group text, our group text about Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson.
That's what I wanted to bring up. Yeah.
And so it was like, do you back up? You know, what did he say?
Like, how does that look in today?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you know, are we supposed to just stand with Israel? Who doesn't stand with Israel will be cursed. You know what I mean? And it's just like, okay, well, I understand standing with God, but that's everybody. You know what I mean? And that's all his children. Mm-hmm. You want me to stand with everything that the government of Israel is doing, and I don't live there, dude. Like, I don't know. Like, that's a whole different thing. And like you said, David, it's like it's very word. Everything needs to be word based. Mm-hmm. We really do need to find exactly where we're at and what God is talking about. Not find the hidden agenda for your own. Yeah. You know, for your own to continue going forward. That's where I get lost with a lot of those people who are trying to tell me, like, Israel. Yes, I know. I see what God's saying. Do I understand everything in that word? No, because if I did, then I'd be God. What do I need God for? Yeah. So the thing about it is like, you know what, man? I'm standing with God. And if God says for me to stand with you, then that's who I'm going to stand with. You know what I mean? He says that my enemies will become my footstool. You know what I mean? So it's just, I don't know, man. It's a whole lot that gets confused in there.
But how far should that go?
Yeah.
How far should what go?
This blind allegiance to Israel.
I don't think,
without us getting called anti-Semitic.
Yeah, I don't think Netanyahu, did I say his name right?
Yeah.
The guy don't walk on water. He's not God. He's not the Messiah. He's going to make mistakes, just like Trump's going to make mistakes. He's a human being, just like anybody else, with more intelligence than the average person, because he has intelligence given to him. Same thing with our president. So I can't fully understand everything he does or say. I can't agree. Doesn't mean I'm going to just blindly agree when he does that. But I'll tell you this. Iran was sending, Israel was bombing them in their military sites. Iran turned around and started bombing cities. What does that tell you? Mm-hmm. It doesn't take a blind man to see that one, right? Mm-hmm. One nation is bombing military installations, and that one turns around and throws bombs at cities where civilians are at.
I'm just stuck on, it doesn't take a blind man to see that.
I know. I know.
Says the difference.
It's a pun.
You know what I mean. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's just, you know, you can get confused, and you know what I mean? That could be manipulation too. It could be manipulation of the word as well, like what Ted Cruz was saying. I see, like, Tucker Carlson's really been tripping me out lately, but I see where he's coming from also. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, one of the things that really tripped me out is when he said about how many people are in Iran. And it was like, to me, that question served no relevance. You know what I mean? But anyways, like, I see where he's coming from. I mean, it could be manipulation of the word. Like
Empty Tomb says, are we sure it's always talking about that people group that live there now? Just questions I have, I guess. I don't know enough about it to really say much. And brother, I would say this. Even all the people that came out of Egypt, there was only a remnant that really served the Lord. Mm-hmm. Out of the thousands that were around Gideon, only 300 were worthy to fight the battle. So God is always going to have a remnant. I would never say all the people there. You know what I mean? And again, our government, okay, put it this way. For those of you that did not want Biden to be president, did he represent you for 4 years? No. Because you're like, dude, I'm me. I don't, just because Biden is pushing this stuff out there, don't mean I stand behind it. So we have to differentiate the government of Israel to the land of Israel and the people of Israel. We have to have discernment for that, you know, because there's people in Israel that are all about the same liberal stuff that are people here. You know what I mean? But I truly believe that there's a remnant. The word, matter of fact, I know there is because the word of God says he's always had a remnant. You read through the Old Testament, you read through the books, you read through it all. You know, there's always been a remnant, you know, so, yeah.
But I think, you know, we talked about on that chat when you had sent that out, you know, I don't know, was that Thursday or something? You know, and that does bother me.
What's that?
That since World War II, this nationalistic thinking of just blindly following Israel, and it became a political theology in the church, and so this position of and argument, because I've heard it my whole life. Why do we support Israel? Because it's God's promised land, it's God's promised people. But what does that mean today? There is no, just to
because Jesus came, he was the promise.
Exactly.
It was a chosen people because the Messiah was going to come out of him, but the Messiah has come.
Exactly.
The promise and the chosen has already been born.
So what does that mean now? And that's where that's why I say political theology comes in, and it cohorts the church, and now all these, this morality Republican side of this position is like, we have to support Israel. Why? Because it's God's chosen land, God's chosen people. And yet, the video, I don't know if you guys had a chance to see what I sent you guys yesterday, videos of Jews spitting on Christians.
Yeah.
Videos of Jews. And you see this everywhere.
Yeah, but they spit on Jesus too.
Exactly. But they're denying the Messiah. And so my only thing is just, the promise, according to Paul, the promise of Abraham was the seed and the Spirit.
Yeah.
And the seed was Christ, and the seal was the Spirit. And so that doesn't nullify the importance of geographical Israel, because I think there is still some promises to come.
Yeah.
But just to blindly follow, that is a concern to me, because that's where Judaism kind of mixes in with Christianity, and it becomes a very dangerous political push in the Christian church.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, it's all of us. You stand with all of us. God's chosen people. Many will come, few are chosen. We don't know what that number looks like. So make sure you're paying attention that they're part of the few, not the many. And that's the whole thing. That's who we stand with. Yes, I'm going to stand with Israel as well, because he's God's chosen people. But you know what? Like you said, I'm going to stand with Egyptians. I'm going to stand with people from India. You know what I'm saying? Because those are God's chosen people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, when I say I support Israel or the chosen land or whatever it is,
absolutely.
I am not saying that they have an advantage in salvation. If they don't give their life to the Lord, they're going to hell just the same.
Exactly.
Again, like you said,
you know what I mean? I don't change that. At the same time, though, I want to remind us in the book of Romans, in chapter 11, Paul talks about this, because a lot of non-Jews were becoming Christians, and then they were putting down the Jews that weren't accepting Jesus. So Paul talks about this, and I just want to just put us all in the same thing here. It says, Romans 11:11. He says, so I asked, did they stumble in order that they might fall? By no means, rather. Through their trespass, talking about Israel, salvation has come to the Gentiles, so as to make Israel jealous. Now, if their trespass means riches for the world, and if their failure means riches for the Gentiles, how much more will their full inclusion mean? So Paul is saying, man, you know what? Because Israel has rejected the Messiah, that's given us a reason to be rich in Christ.
Yeah.
But because of that, he says, now I'm speaking to you Gentiles. He says, inasmuch then as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify my ministry in order to somehow make my fellow Jews jealous. And thus I have saved some of them. For if their rejection means the reconciliation of the whole world, what would their acceptance mean but life from the dead? In other words, and then he goes on, verse 17, if some of the branches were broken off, talking about Israel's broken off, and you, although you're a wild olive shoot, were grafted in among the others, now share in the nourishing root of the olive tree. Do not be arrogant toward the branches. In other words, God says, okay, I'm going to cut Israel off, but now you're grafted into the tree. But don't be arrogant to the branches that were cut off. If you are, remember that it is not you who support the root, but the root that supports you. Then you will say, branches were broken off so I might be grafted in. That's true. They were broken off because of their unbelief. But you stand fast through faith, so do not become proud, but fear. For if God did not spare the natural branches, neither will he spare you. So Paul was talking about the Gentile, the non-Jew, talking about the people of Israel. Saying, hey, be really careful, man. Yeah, you've been given salvation. Yeah, they rejected Christ. And now because they rejected Christ, now you're able to become part of the kingdom. But don't become so high-minded and powerful to think that you're better than. Because if he cut off the natural branches, What makes you think he won't cut you off of it or graft it in?
And it puts everybody in the same place, as Romans 1 and 2 does as well. But then at the same time, here's the truth of the fact in the sense of within the covenant. For not all Israel is Israel.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and so that's the reality to the fact. But at the same time, like you were saying, absolutely. Should we disregard them and treat them as no, that's not the case either.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, they need Christ in the new covenant.
Yeah.
Like an Egyptian would, like an Ethiopian would. And, if a Jewish soldier dies, God don't weep more for a Jewish soldier than a Hamas.
Mm-hmm.
If neither one of them had faith in Christ, he's weeping for both.
Yeah. He says he finds no joy.
Absolutely.
In a loss of life. Look what our poetic says. And this is important. There is a difference between supporting Zionism and Israel. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the American church has conflated the two. That is true. And that's what we're talking about, is not conflate them, not put it together, because you can't. So when I say I support Israel, I'm not saying Zionism. I'm saying I support Israel, the Holy Land, the holy city of God, where he's going to set up a new Jerusalem.
Or not just that, just so they're not, I don't want to see them extinct.
Me either. I don't want to see anybody extinct.
Exactly. That's to that point. Exactly. I don't want to see anyone annihilated. From the sea. From what was it? From the land of the sea. I don't want to see them taken out like that. Any nation.
Yeah.
Any country. Any people.
All of these things that happen, guys. Pay attention. When you see people that are atheists, when you see people that are against God, when you see people that are against the word of God, wherever you see them go and protest and this and that, it lets you know where Satan is. It lets you know what is ungodly. It lets you know what is antichrist. That's what made me really nervous with these people that were protesting and rioting in L.A., talking about this is all about raza and this and that. Because when I saw people that don't love God side with them, that makes me nervous. Because I'm just like, I'm not going to be on the side of the Antichrist. I'm not going to be on the side of those that hate Jesus. So for me, I'm just like, it's really easy to have discernment and say, where do the God haters go? Because whatever it is they're protesting, then I'm going to go the opposite way. So when I see people protesting for Iran, when I see people protesting for Hamas, I'm sorry, man. I can't stand with that.
So you don't stand with the gays for Gaza?
No, neither do they. Neither do they.
I wonder how they're standing.
So,
no, but I think it's two things, and it's a great point that you brought up. One, balance between how we see one another, and not getting arrogant to the point as Christians to belittle them. And Paul makes that statement in Romans 12:2.
Yeah.
Do not think more highly of yourself than as you ought to. And he's speaking to believers. And the second part is how it fits theologically. And that's a very important part that the church has to grasp, because ever since World War II, it's really, really been convoluted and been a political thing after.
Yeah.
I tell you, man, it's manipulation.
Yeah.
In today's life, it's manipulation. It's manipulation of how you can control people. How can we go ahead and control the narrative? And I mean, that's really what it is. Like, let's just be real about it, man. We are on a media podcast right now. We are out here standing for what we believe in. We are, or you know what I mean by standing, but we are speaking what we believe in, how we see the word, how we pray for God to reveal the understanding of his word and different things like this. So if you aren't anti-Semitic, if you aren't against these people, if you're not against Iran, if you're not talking about kill them all and blah, 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 then you know what, man? You are not looking to get views. You know what I'm saying? If you're not clickbait chasing, then it's bad. That's today's life. That's what the word is talking about. And when it says about the new will come in and destroy, you know what I mean? And it's a whole lot, bro. It's a whole lot. It really, really is. It's so much more than an hour and a half conversation.
Yeah.
It's so much more. And you know what? It's very unfortunate because, it doesn't, I don't know how to say his name, but the dude, the metal from Israel, right?
Netanyahu.
Yeah, that cat right there, right? So that dude, like I said last week, that dude is looking at Big Brother, thinking, Big Brother, I'm going to go call my Big Brother on you, and hoping that his Big Brother Trump comes in and takes care of all the business. And, man, you really pissed off your Big Brother. You know what I mean? You figured you finally had a button pusher to go ahead and do what he was going to do, and you took you're being a dummy right now.
Before we go to the peace or no peace part, I just want to ask a quick question, because you sent that video of Ted Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
Do you honestly think Ted Cruz was being genuine when he made that statement? What
Absolutely, I do not. Absolutely, I do not.
Was that political manipulation?
That was all political manipulation. That was a way to go ahead and fit his agenda to go blow up a country that doesn't need to be blown up, because the people in Iran at this moment are protesting against their government.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That tells you right there that they love America, bro. There's been many a things. If you've been doing any type of research, there's been many a things of like, that's why he had that quiver in his voice. He didn't want to have to blow up the country. He doesn't want it. Yeah. You know, one of the main things is, you know, a lot of people will look at him like, oh, you said you're about peace, then why are you doing this? And, you know, they'll switch that agenda on Uncle Trump. You know what I mean? But the thing about it is he doesn't want to do this stuff, but he also knows that these dudes will be doing something that they're not supposed to be doing. So it's first one. And so he took that decision, and he doesn't want to. He sees that they are yelling. They love America.
They do.
They love America, bro. They love us. It's the government that is screwing them up. It's that Iranian government that is screwing them up. So, man, I think Ted Cruz is a big fool. You think he's full of junk?
So, Patrick Bet-David used to be Sharon's boss. Mm-hmm. And he's from Iran. Matter of fact, he can't go there because when that regime took over, his family was Christian. They had to become refugees. They went to Germany first, I think, and then they ended up here. He clearly loves America. There's a brother I was locked up with. His name was Benjamin. He was Persian, which is Iran. Loved America. There's a brother named Elvis I was locked up with.
Presley.
Well, think about this. Why do you think they named him Elvis? Because they loved America. They wanted to give him an all-American name.
Yeah,
that's funny. That is interesting.
That's funny. Yeah.
So
is that true, or is that something you just came up with?
No, that's true.
Dang, that's wild.
His parents named him Elvis.
That's crazy.
Because they love America. So I've probably met a whole lot of Persians, and I say Persians because that's their native land is Iran. Syrians is same thing. So every single Assyrian and Persian I've ever met is patriotic. They love America. You know, so it's not the Persian people, man. It's not the Iranian people. Mm-hmm. It's that government that's in place, right? It's a regime. Mm-hmm. They're the ones that hate America.
Yeah, no, I agree. But when I heard Ted Cruz's response, you know, the first thing popped in my mind, dude, for you to make that statement and try to make it with so much conviction, and yet when you got a pushback that soft.
You're saying he was trying to rile up Christians?
Yeah. And not have even an answer or understanding or interpretation
of why he said that?
Why he said it.
So dude, that was weak.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, you made me upset. That's what stirred me up when I seen it. So that's why I was like, dude, in my response was like, dude, this is why this is so bad.
Oh, that's who's the dude from Daily Wire, man? We were talking Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
Same thing.
He said the same thing?
No. Remember we had talked about something that he said an atheist had hit him with? What did the atheist jam Jordan Peterson up with?
Oh, are you a Christian?
Are you a Christian?
Oh, yeah.
See what I'm saying? That all that was like. I like how you put that. Just that little simple. Beep. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Same thing. Same thing with Ted Cruz. He had that little tap. So yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, it's like, dude, get that off, dude.
Yeah, dude.
No, man.
Say something else.
Yeah, tell me. I mean, think about it. When you have a strong conviction of something and you mean it, right? Whether you're right or wrong. Yeah. Do you say it with your chest and you got reasons behind it? Mm-hmm. You could be wrong, but there's reasons and there's emotion behind it. But instead of just like, well, but I don't know where it's at, you know, dude, get that out of here, man. Yeah. No.
Yeah, when you're talking to the point of annihilating a nation and you don't know why, because you're saying it's because it's a Bible, but don't know the scripture.
Yeah,
that's yeah. That wasn't cool, actually.
No.
So now let's go to this. We thought yesterday the war was over. They're saying it was a 12-day war. There was a peace treaty. And I woke up to something different. So what happened with that? And how do you think that's changing things? I haven't watched the news. I've been in this podcast room all day, so I don't know what's happened in the last 4 hours. Has anything changed, transpired? Or?
Just what I seen this morning.
Yeah, just what I saw Uncle Trump say about,
When he dropped the F-bomb?
Well,
Yeah,
how many bombs did Israel first send?
Today?
Yes, this morning. They, from my understanding, Israel sent bombs.
They sent a barrage of them.
After Trump made his statement, and then Iran retaliated back. Mm-hmm. And that's where...
That's why Trump got mad. He's like, you're both acting like babies right now.
Yeah, because Trump bombed on Saturday, and he dropped the bomb this morning.
What's up, Joseph?
And so he had the bunker busters on Saturday, and he dropped the F-bomb this morning.
He dropped the bunker busters on Iran. He dropped the bunker buster on the media today.
Yeah.
I was more excited about what he was saying when he was walking over to the helicopter.
About CNN?
Everything he was saying about the media, about how they're just a bunch of clowns and they're a bunch of chumps and they don't know what they're doing and blah, 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 blah. And he was just going off on dude. And I was just loving every single moment.
He was clearly upset. And I think it was important for both of these nations to be like, dude, Trump was like, dude, you're going to play with me? You're going to play with, like, not only him, but think about the money it used to have that operation happen.
I wish I can get that speech.
You know what I mean? All the money that was used. And for what? He was clearly upset at both. My understanding is Netanyahu replied to Trump being angry today.
I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, and he scaled back. He quit bombing. Because he's like, think about it. Can you imagine the very nation that can keep you from being annihilated mad at you?
No.
The news that came out, and all I heard within the morning, because I didn't get to hear too much, because I was in meetings too, just kind of back and forth, was how he's an unpolished politician.
Who?
Trump. And the way, using that kind of vocabulary, using that kind of language.
Of course.
On top of bad judgment calls. Look, it didn't go through. It fell through and everything else. And you can hit Trump all day long with him not being and talking like a politician. And you can hit him all day long and say, I thought you were a Christian. You can hit him with all those things all day long. And you know what? Whatever. It is what it is. But what do you... See, we're feeling that way, a certain way with pressure, not knowing the details.
Yeah.
What do you think went through his mind, knowing the details and what's at stake and what's on the line, for him to turn around and go, what are you doing? Dude. Like Netanyahu, do you understand what you just could have set off right here, right now?
Yeah.
And so he drops another bomb this morning. I'm not condoning it, but I understand it.
I have a question, though. If we truly believe that this regime is wicked and evil with the intention of wiping Israel off the face of the planet and has intentions of death to America, then a peace treaty will only slow down the inevitable. Do we really want a peace treaty? Because they'll be like, you know what? Trump's the ticking time bomb. We could wait 3.5 years. Yep. Or do we let Israel finish them off, the regime? That's a serious question. Like, is a peace treaty the smart thing? If we really believe that an Iranian regime right now is that dangerous, why are we putting a Band-Aid and just prolonging what's going to inevitably happen anyways?
So what is the answer to that then? Take them all out? Kill the whole bloodline?
To somehow topple that regime.
So the government.
The
Kill
government.
all the government.
Yeah. It happened before. It happened 38 years ago. Do you know, if you go back to the early 70s, Iran looked like United States. They had dance clubs and streets and cities, and they was very westernized until the Ayatollah came in, and he basically Sharia law basically happened. So I don't know.
Well, how do you feel about troops I don't want our troops there.
No, me either. No, I don't want our troops there. I'm saying let Israel do it.
I don't know if I trust Israel. Be honest with you. I'm being honest with you. I don't know, because then it's kind of like I don't want Israel attacked from other nations.
I don't want Israel attacking Persian cities. I keep saying Persia, Iranian cities, because you do that, that's not the right way to go.
But that's what I'm saying. There's so much animosity built there. I don't trust Israel. On a personal
I think
level.
the best thing that would happen, maybe from the little bit I know, because I'm just a preacher from Modesto, is somehow if the people of Iran would overthrow their own government.
Yeah.
Let them clean up their own mess. That would probably be best case scenario.
Yeah, I agree. But to have Israel do it,
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I don't know, especially after today. I didn't trust them before. Now,
Yeah.
you just gave me more reason to pause.
What do you guys think?
Yeah. Chat, answer on the chat. What do y'all think about that?
Yeah, they not Nahu, whatever his name is, bro. However you say
Netanyahu?
it. That dude is definitely not to be trusted. I was watching something on Megan yesterday. I was like, ooh, let's see what Megan has to say about everything.
I haven't seen her.
And so she was saying, I saw like, it's an hour and a half, hour and 45 minute. I saw half of it, and she was pretty much saying she didn't think it was a good idea. Is he going off of is he going off of our own intel, or is he going off of Israeli intel? Is he doing this? So she had a bunch of valid points, but she was saying, man, I just lost my brain farted right now with what you were saying. She was saying about how like oh man, I forgot what I was gonna say.
It was good though.
Yeah,
It was good.
It was gonna be the straight icebreaker. What is it that? What is it right now that you were asking right now? Like, should
they topple the government? Should Israel go in all the way?
Oh yeah, again about how that fool has been. I'm sorry, Lord, he's not a fool, but how the big dog over in Israel,
Netanyahu.
yeah, how he's been trying to convince America to go and blow them up since 2012 or something.
What I don't
like
like is when he tries to.
or 2005. 2005 is when it started.
It's been 30 years.
And
they
then
said.
yeah,
96.
and then so many times, and she showed clips of him over and over.
He tries
again.
to trigger Trump.
Yeah,
I don't
And-
like
Well,
that.
America.
I don't
For 30
appreciate.
years, he's tried to
Yeah,
trigger
and
America.
so
I don't like
that's
that.
where she was like, "Did Trump do this when he dropped bombs literally on Saturday? Did he do this off our intel from what he's listening to in the White House, or was it something over here from what Israel was telling him?" So I thought that was a very good one. Valid.
Felipe says he wants no regime change. In my opinion, Israel wants regime change so they can install one of their plants and eventually create a greater Israel. So that's it. That makes me ask this question, Felipe, or anybody.
Yeah.
Does Israel really want a bigger Israel, or do they just want peace in their nation? Because I've heard that said a couple times, but I don't think they have a vision of a bigger Israel.
Well, and I think the other question to Felipe as well, and anyone, just for that matter, just out of curiosity, is okay, if Israel doesn't do a regime change, the United States doesn't do a regime change, if the people uprise and do a regime change, do you still feel that same way of no regime change?
Oh, yeah. So it's a good question, Felipe. So what if it was they themselves doing it? Or you're saying
the
even if
people.
they did it, there will still be a plant?
Or are you saying just other nations to stay out of doing that?
Huh. Good question.
It's a whole lot, man.
Yeah.
I know. One of the things is I had a picture, and it was saying about let's see how we even got here with not it, dummy.
According to Netanyahu, Iran is 2 to 3 years away from a nuclear weapon 20 years ago.
Well, I think since '96 is the first time he said it.
Yeah, I don't think they want a great. I don't think they want a greater Israel.
It's for the
either.
people who are blaming Trump for everything that's going on in Iran, right?
Yeah.
And it said, let's remember how we got here. Hillary Clinton supplied Iran with uranium to enrich their nuclear program. Barack Obama gave Iran $1.7 billion that they used to fund their nuclear program. And good old Sleepy Joe unfroze over $16 billion. Unfroze $16 billion
I remember
dollars
that.
of funds
How
for
convenient.
Iran. So that goes out to anybody who's looking at my uncle and blaming him
Yeah.
for what's going on. I mean, it's just like, I know those three right there. Well, except with Sleepy Joe, because Sleepy Joe don't even know that he's still breathing.
You use that pin.
Yeah. He
Well,
pin whipped it.
Let's get it straight. He didn't use that pen.
Felipe Flores. So I think we're on the same page, Felipe. He says
Yeah.
it has to be organic, grassroots regime change. I
Yeah.
think that's the base.
I agree.
That's everything, bro.
To me, that's the best case scenario that could happen right there.
If they restructured La Onda, bro, they got to restructure Iran. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today, we still want to stay on this a little bit?
Well, I have one more thing
Yeah,
to
go
say.
ahead, go ahead.
Empty tomb.
what time?
So maybe, do you mean, let me separate that. You said Israelis might not, but Zionists might. Would that in the same sense be like, see, people in Texas hate when people from California go and move there because they say, why are you trying to California my Texas? So it's not that they're trying to expand the borders of California.
Or Texas. Yeah.
Yeah, don't California my Texas. The people there aren't saying that. Like, you're not trying, we know you're not trying to expand the California border to Texas, but you're bringing the ideology of California into Texas. Is that the difference right here? Where Israelis might, but Zionists might? That would make sense. About expanding the greater Israel. It's not expanding the borders, but it's the ideology of Israel.
Well, because I would think, though, whether you're a Zionist or a true, just if you're a Jew, I would imagine you're looking at if you're looking at expanding Israel, you're looking at expanding to the biblical geographic locations of biblical Davidic Israel. Mm-hmm. Okay, if you tell me that makes more sense. But you tell me that Israel wants to go and take over Iraq, that doesn't make any sense.
Why would Israel want to lord over millions of Muslims? That makes no sense.
That's what I'm saying.
That makes no
But
sense.
if you were to tell me, hey, they want the Davidic land that David had, okay, I buy that.
Yeah.
I could buy that.
I think America wants to westernize Iran. I think America wants to westernize the world.
I think they're salivating at it right now.
Yeah, you know what I mean? To have, another nation, to be an ally, to be like America, to be a capitalist, to be, of course, America wants. I think America wants that more than Israel.
Oh, yeah.
America wants to Americanize every nation in the world. Let's be honest. They do.
They do, because it's got pretty legs.
Oh, yeah, last few minutes. Or were you going to talk about something? Because we got a few minutes left.
No, go ahead.
So Jamal Bryant. Oh, man, once again, Jamal Bryant. What is he? First, we did a video where he got kicked out the hood.
That was funny.
He did a vid.
He's to talk about roaches.
Yeah, he called Republicans MAGA roaches.
Mm-hmm.
He or for Easter he wore a really pretty pink suit.
For Easters.
And then weeks later he told a guy on his podcast he had
Cam
pretty
Newton.
legs.
Cam Newton.
Cam Newton. Oh,
And
man.
the latest now is this last weekend he preached at a church where the pastor is married to a man.
To the first...
To the first gentleman.
for the
The
first,
first
gentleman of the
gentleman.
church.
So Jamal Bryant once again keeps getting closer and closer to the sun. And I don't know, man. It's like a fight between him and what's the other one? Mike Todd?
Yeah, Auntie Todd.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Plebe. Thank you.
You know when people are running and they're getting to the ribbon? Each week they're getting closer. I want to know who's going to win to break that rainbow ribbon through. Jamal Bryant or Michael Todd.
I definitely would say Bryant.
Yeah, I think he's
that dude.
He's closer.
Oh, yeah.
Closer to the ribbon breaking.
Yeah, he's definitely in stride.
Yeah. Yeah. So
With a key.
do you think he does this to be relevant? Do you think he really believes this? Oh, he also boycotted Target.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted
because they took out their transgender.
Yeah. So he wanted his whole church to boycott Target. So is he being is he trying to be relevant, or does he really believe this stuff? What do you think?
I think both. I think both.
They both belong in a QVC commercial.
Yeah, I think both. Did
Thank you, Felipe.
see
Thank you.
That in that video? Who sent that video?
Which one?
Thank you, Felipe
The
and
one
Felipe.
that we saw
Thank you.
yesterday.
Me.
David.
That was you?
Yeah.
Bro, did you see okay, out of that whole thing, the one when he's at the church preaching at the gay church, whatever. Homosexual, I don't call them gays. At the homosexual church, right? That I understand that's what the big focus was, and he was talking on shame. Really, bro? My G, man. Like you picked shame.
He starts the
I thought just like
he does a
Marcus
sermon. He goes, "They were naked." I'm like, really? Out of all the Bible, you're gonna go to this church and start preaching on nakedness?
Naked.
Yes.
Are you? Yeah, and the way he says it.
But the funniest part of Marcus Rogers' edit and everything he did was when he was sitting with those two clowns. He was like, look at these fools, man. They are literally in clown suits. And man, dude, I was just watching that guy, and what I was paying attention to was Marcus Rogers, how he was saying about that he's been doing that a long time, that he knows how the internet works. And if he wanted to make more views and he wanted to make more money, he would know how to do that. But that's not what he's out there for. But then I was watching Jamal, Pretty Legs, right?
Yeah.
And I was just like, yo, my man, like, you are tripping, bro. Like, you are literally on one. And that's, when we say that stuff, we mean it in a drug type way. You are literally on one, bro.
Yeah.
And
for
you
real.
know what, man?
For real.
And
For real.
In the words of Joseph, man, like, Satan is gay. And it's just like, dude, you are part of Satan's crew, Jamal.
Joseph quoted something else really good right now. He says, and let us be reminded that the former President Joe Biden once said, America is a nation that can be defined in a single word.
See,
Wow.
he said it clearly, right?
Blevett Jones, how you doing, brother? God bless you.
Oh, man.
Enchanted Threads, how you doing? God bless you.
That dude, that guy is a bum. And you know what? One thing that Marcus Rogers kept saying that it was.
Thank you, our poetic.
Is how is this man's church still filling up every Sunday? I don't care what color you are. That means nothing to me. How are you people walking into this church? How are you amening what this dude has to say? How are you hallelujahing what this man has to say? How? I just don't get it. That is the lack, man, dude. That you don't know Jesus. Those people in the congregation don't know Jesus.
I think the silver lining is he's in Atlanta, Georgia, ain't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that people are starting to hear truth over there and going over there to Anthony Mitchell's church and lining up over there by the thousands trying to get in. Why? Because there ain't nothing nice in that church. I was watching the videos. I'm like, man, there ain't nothing fancy, nothing nice. It's just a stage, some lights, and some chairs. And he's just preaching.
Yeah.
He's just preaching. No fancy suits, none of this stuff. But like you said, brother, you said, man, let's keep watching because hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah. God willing, man.
In the name of Jesus, it stays that way. You know.
I'm not wishing for nobody's downfall, man. That dude he's spitting gas. And he's spitting gas because now people are starting to show up on his front lawn. And when people start showing up on your front lawn, that's because the word is going out of the building.
Yeah.
And the people are being offended. But the thing about it is, man, I pray for that man, dude. Like, I pray for every pastor that, when you're spitting gas, man, like you are a man who gives gas to the flame. And it's just, that's what we need. But the thing about it is like I said, I'm watching that nice little one tennis rope, those black clothes you got on that are worth nothing. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
probably got them at thrift store, at Target or Walmart or whatever. Like, man, keep doing your thing, bro. That's all I gotta say. But this dude, Jamal, I mean, how do you shut him down? How do you go about shutting dudes down like that?
People just got to hear the truth.
I don't
That's
think
it.
you're ever going to shut them down. I don't. And the reason why is because the scripture says people having itching ears.
Oh, that's the verse I was going to quote right now.
Yeah, it's people that are
that's
having
funny.
itching ears, you know, reap for themselves teachers that itch their ears. And so, you know, listening to that message, it was weird, you know, and one of the things, you know, I was just coming to here, and I was driving, I was thinking about Colossians, and, you know, because that's where we're at right now in the class. We're going through Ephesians, we're finishing in Colossians. And one of the things with Colossians is it doesn't just necessarily hit like one religious reason, or it's not just hitting Judaism.
Yeah.
It's hitting a different, you know, multitude of things. And I was thinking about what we call New Age. You know, and Colossians hits a lot of New Age, which just means it's almost like, you know, you get those lint rollers.
Yeah.
Because that's all New Age is. It's just whatever you come across,
Yeah.
everything that's just there, and it sticks. And so, you know, I was just thinking about it today, and it was just like, you know, there's so much there that he's trying to throw in like a lint roller, and it's just New Age. It's never going to go away.
Yeah.
And it's never, you know, there's no way for us to shut it down outside of insulating truth
it down.
and equipping people with that, because I think there is people that are going to be. I know the guy that had the podcast that we were listening to. Oh my gosh, Rogers.
Or Marcus Rogers.
Marcus Rogers. You know, one of the things he said I don't think he's going to listen to my podcast. I don't think my podcast is going to change his heart. But if my podcast can get some members who are there to think and go,
100%.
Yeah.
like,
Wake up.
I hope they wake up, and that's my hope. You know, and I think that will happen.
Yeah.
But he's going to continue, and I agree with Tino. I think it's two things. I think he believes it, and I think he's just trying to get clickbait.
Yeah.
He's both.
You know, it's like, oh, pray that he comes back to Jesus. You know what I'm saying? I pray that he comes back. Man, you can't pray for something have him come back to he's never been to.
There's something he don't want.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever been there. Be honest about it.
Yep. Look, Daniel put old lies, old lies, old demons, new branding. That's it.
Yeah, man.
That's it. I agree.
Polish this up.
Yeah, just calling it something different.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well,
I know you got to jump on the Zoom.
yeah. So we're going to end it there. I know, brother, somebody brought up about, I'm not ignoring you, but I don't know nothing about the story, but I will mention it just so you know that I see it.
And real quick, Daniel, thank you for that.
He says, did anyone hear about a vice mayor in SoCal provoking 18th Street and Florencia hoods to
Florencia,
challenge the
yeah.
feds? Cynthia Gonzalez, vice mayor of Cudahy? I don't know what that is. So I don't know anything about the story, but I did see your post. I'm not ignoring it. I just don't know anything about the story. But maybe
Email us.
that's something we can look up.
Yeah, let us know so we can look into it.
So, all right, guys, God bless you. Thank you so much. Every single Tuesday we do this. Let's just talk, and we talk about whatever happens, biblical worldview, current events, anything is worthwhile to talk about.
We like dropping bombs on here.
All right. All right. Bye.
Be blessed. Boom!